Warning, the following communications are not authorized. Please disable your signals and report to your local re-education center immediately. Failure to comply will result in immediate reprimand and capital punishment.
We are your re-education center, Eric Butler. We've been re-educating you since 30 episodes ago, whenever that was. I don't know. There's been times where we had no show, 2 shows a week. We don't know anymore. 1976, I think, is when we started.
78.
I don't know what you... 78, that's fine. My brother was born that year. Shout out to my oldest brother, Dan. We're talking about vaccine passports and all the good stuff that's happening across the world right now, Eric. We've got new vaccine passports in Canada. We've got fake ones in New York. I'm sure we've got them everywhere else. You said at Lollapalooza, people are holding up pieces of paper to say that they've been vaccinated. Let's jump into what's his face? Chuck Schumer complaining about vaccine passports. You know, everybody thinks Chuck Schumer isn't a lizard, so let's see what he has to say.
Now people are manufacturing and selling fake COVID cards, even though it's a crime. And this is incredible. Some people, rather than get the vaccine, which is free, are paying money for a fake card and risking prosecution because it's against the law. Who could be that dumb? Who could be that dumb? The vaccine's free, the vaccine's safe, get the vaccine. But right now, there are these horrible people selling these cards, and too many people are looking to buy them. So today, I am urging a federal crackdown on these counterfeit COVID cards and an education campaign to make it clear to the American people that this is illegal. You could actually go to prison for buying one of these. To boot, there's an easier solution. Get the vaccine. It costs nothing as opposed to the card, and it's certainly not against the law. The law is all in favor of it. The feds have to step up their efforts to ameliorate this problem before it gets worse. The Department of Justice must ensure the fraud cases are prosecuted to the full extent of the law, so people know if they engage in this treachery, which is very dangerous.
Because
fake cards are
treachery.
dangerous. Here we are going to great length to let people go back to their activities at restaurants, at sports stadiums,
Going
at
through
gatherings,
great lengths.
at clubs, with the idea that if you show the card, it's okay. If fake cards become the epidemic, then people will no longer feel safe to gather at these places, and it'll really hurt our economy as well. So there are so many reasons to crack down on these cards. We need Border Patrol, Health and Human Services, and the FBI to crack down. And another warning to those who get their vaccine in a real card. Don't post your card on social media because the counterfeiters may use it, just like they try to use if you post your social security.
Oh my God, Eric, he's being so... Sorry. He's being so generous by giving you your freedoms back that we all have to crack down. The FBI, Coast Guard. Like, does this not sound insane? How does he not see how people would want to fake it? There's no reason why you would want to not get the vaccine. No person could ever have a reason. So why would there be fakes, Eric?
No, it's complete insanity. And to bring back from a point I made a week or two ago, it's like, bro, you caused this problem, right? You're the one that set up this black market. You're the one that is telling people they can't do this and that unless they get the stupid shot. So what could you possibly expect? And yeah, to your point, I think it's very tough to tell if these people actually believe this stuff, right? Like I, for the longest time, have erred more on the side of they're completely evil. Like he knows this isn't really a good thing. I mean, we've got a border crisis that's been the worst since before I was old enough to realize even what the border was, right? So this has been at least 2 decades. It hasn't been this bad. But no mention of that. He does, oddly enough, mention border control or border patrol, which is insane. Like, why would you even want to invoke the thought of the border when you're talking about these passports? Because we all know that the border is wide open.
Yeah, exactly. I'm guessing they're trying to say that people are coming over with fake passports, which is funny because they're just basically assuming we'll need these once we get in. Second straight month of 20-year high of illegal immigrants in the bottom of the southern border. Makes me think, though, 20-year high, that means during George Bush.
Yeah.
it would have been insanely high. I don't know about that at all.
And he's obviously a scumbag. I also just randomly realized that Instagram flags the word scumbag if you leave that in a caption. If you leave that in a comment. Yeah, so like if I go on Gavin Newsom's page, you can't say the word scumbag. But another thing that's really weird about this is how he emphasizes that it's free. It's free. It's free. You have to pay for this card. It's like, bro, it never crossed any of your guys' mind that maybe people just don't want it. Who cares if it's free? You could offer me, you could literally pick up a piece of garbage off the street and say, here, I got you this. It's free. It's like, I don't want it. It doesn't matter if it's free, right? Think about this. We all remember the Krispy Kreme thing, right? That was hilarious at the beginning. They're going to give you a donut. And then it went up to lotteries. A beer. Lottery. And then none of that worked. So they said, you have to do it. And think about this. So now it's mandatory. All these corrupt politicians, de Blasio, London Breed, they're all making it mandatory, right? But the White House, this is actually what gives me hope, all right? Is that the White House has gone out of their way to employ at least 3 Gen Z influencers, right? So they had that Olivia Rodriguez girl or whatever. They had that weird TikTok guy with the dress on. They had dude with sign. Dude with sign.
Who's
they had
that?
all the guy. He's huge on Instagram. I think he's got like 5 or 6 million followers, and he just holds up a cardboard sign and it says something topical. So they hired all 3 of those people to push this vaccine, which makes it abundantly clear that they are desperate. None of those influencers are targeting somebody like me. None of those influencers are targeting anybody who even thought about voting for Donald Trump. That is targeting people that they believed were going to blindly obey their weirdo rules. But that shows that perhaps they did not. And now we come to this where after all of that, all those bribes, all those incentives, you didn't want it. We brought you influencers. You still didn't want it. So now we're saying it's mandatory. So then you go get fake cards, and now we're blaming the fake cards on you. And as all that's happening, they're labeling people who don't want to do it terrorists. So they may have really stepped in it on this point, because we know now that they are targeting weirdo young left-wing people with these influencers, but at the same time saying if you don't obey these rules, you're a terrorist. So that target market has now been identified as somebody who's not obeying the rules, therefore also a terrorist. Is that?
It's weird that they never, ever have thought that there's a problem with what they're doing or what they're saying or anything to that regard. Nothing's ever been... They've never apologized for moving the goalpost. They've never apologized for being wrong. They've never apologized for saying you need more vaccines now that there's all these other variants. They've never said, I'm wrong. I haven't heard a politician say I'm wrong, and this is why we have to change the goalposts. Essentially, this is why we have to change the rules. Chuck Schumer's just talking like, we've been generous enough to give you these freedoms back, and now you're misbehaving again. Unbelievable. And now in Canada, they just came out with vaccine passport requirements for traveling between provinces. So if you don't know the provinces in Canada, Ontario, British Columbia, stuff like that. If you travel on a train or on a flight across provincial lines, across state lines, if you want to say it that way, you need vaccine verification. So I guess if you drive, it's not going to be a problem. There will be no backlash for this. I guarantee you. People are protesting, but nobody will do anything, because I'll show you why in a second. So that's basically the story. You'll need a vaccine passport for that. But this other story is that the Conservative Party in Canada has been firing anyone who opposes them, and they just fired somebody who was against vaccine passports. So this guy named Jonas Smith in the Conservative Party, he's way up north in one of the territories. You can see the Yukon is way up north. And what happened was, last time he ran, he came within 1% of winning. And this time, the guy he lost to resigned or something. He stepped down. He's not running. So they think he had a good chance of winning. But he came out against vaccine passports. So now he has to be fired and removed as a candidate for there. So they have no problem firing anyone that opposed it. They kicked them out of their caucuses. They kicked them out of their party. All these people should band together into one party, but they're not doing that. They're all doing separate things. It's really sad though. This is the Conservative Party. They put out an ad yesterday or the day before, and a bunch of their own candidates, a bunch of their own party members made fun of it. It was just Justin Trudeau, I think, not even face swapped or anything, just like his head cut out onto Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I'll look that up, and just like him throwing things, and it was so like lowbrow and so low quality that their own party members were shitting on it. So I'm going to Conservative commercial Trudeau. I'm going to Google.
So, but why? Mm-hmm. I mean, are we still pretending that these? I mean, so what's the point in having multiple parties? I mean, if you don't toe the line with every single establishment thing, and you just get kicked out, then that basically eliminates the need for parties at all.
It's been so, like, I guess all of them want to be leaders or something. I don't know why they all can't stick together when they have 99% of the same viewpoints, let's say, but they're so fragmented that they can't get together, and they're not going to win. Trudeau's going to win again by most people's accounts, maybe by a little bit more, maybe by a lot more, who knows, maybe by a little bit less. But the Conservative Party has been crashing and burning for the last year. And I'm trying to find this commercial because it was so bad that it just shows like their own people were retweeting and being like, this is low quality, replying, saying this is like all we can talk about. It doesn't say anything. And even the images they come out with are so bad. It's just like working or hard at work. And then it has him writing down like on a piece of paper. It doesn't mean anything. Let's see if the leaders actually got it on his page. I doubt it. At this point,
it sounds like that Seinfeld episode where Costanza just looks angry, so they think he's busy. So he just sits there with like a scowl on his face, and nobody bothers him.
Well, this one's in French, but like you can see how bad the ads are here. It's on. No links to anything. I'm ready to get our economy surging. No links to anything. It's me. I'm writing it on a desk. It's important. It says it's on. Let's see if we can find their commercial. Or they? Oh, here's a French LGBTQ ad.
Se tient la marche de la fierté de Montréal. C'est un grand jour pour l'avancement des droits des membres de...
Elections called. Let's get out that French pride stuff, you guys. They must have wiped this from.
Was it that bad they got rid of it? Oh, I'm getting like
PPC commercial. Yeah, it's probably from the thing. Where the hell is it? It's gotta be in here, Eric. It's so bad, I have to show it to you guys.
If it's that bad, they probably got rid of it.
But also, there's this thing where Canadian things aren't popular online. I can't find it right now. I'll find it in a moment. We can move on for now. What do we got next? Barely Informed with Elad showed I don't know if it's his video or not, but there's basically Antifa versus.
Just out of curiosity.
No, Elad. The first time I asked him, he said, I don't want to do interviews that aren't in person.
Oh, okay.
And then every once in a while, I message him or something, and I'm like, "You gonna come on yet?" He's like, "Soon." And I'm like, "You're leading me on, Elad. It's not very nice of you."
Okay, just curious. he big me in New York.
Oh, unbelievable. And they can't call this crowd racist either. It's just a bunch of people who hate Antifa and they want to fight with them for some reason.
Fuck Antifa! Fuck Antifa! Fuck Antifa! Fuck Antifa! Fuck Antifa! Hey, bitch! No fucking...
Hey! Yo! Stop it!
Unmask them! Unmask them!
Fuck you!
Unmask them! Unmask them! Unmask them! Unmask them all!
Unmask them all.
I like the goggles.
You have to like the goggles.
Unmask them all! Fuck Antifa! Fuck Antifa! Unmask them all! Unmask them all! Fuck Antifa! Unmask them all! Unmask them all! Where's Chandler? Bring his ass! Bring his ass! Come on!
I have no idea what's actually going on.
Pussy! You're in my face!
Stop it!
You're in my face!
You guys all gotta leave now.
I like how we're even after all that girl's trying the don't get in my face and trying to be like you're assaulting, like you're the one who is doing something when I'm sticking the even she's going to it right down to the end there, eh? I don't know what that's about. Recall Gavin Newsom protesters, brawl with Antifa. So what does Antifa want to keep Gavin Newsom in, Eric? I don't know what's going on there.
Nobody knows what Antifa wants. They just like violence, right? I can't. I honestly, I would say that I don't believe any of the Antifa members like Gavin Newsom, but they just want to fight, right? So if they see somebody with an American flag, even if they're wearing an American flag mask, which I think is stupid, I will, if I have it my way, I will never ever wear a mask in my life again. It triggers me to no end, almost like the fireworks from last summer in New York. But I digress. The point is, they just want complete chaos. I mean, that could have been, honestly, that could have been a pro Gavin Newsom, march, and Antifa would still show up because they're just there to agitate. And that's why they don't talk to anybody. I mean, you think you could go to that chaos, that chaotic scene, and talk to an Antifa member and see what they want? They won't even talk to you. They won't talk to anybody because they don't even know what they want. It's just fun to fight people.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be anything. It's a spa. There's a spa. Their ideologies are so far spread out and making no sense that it literally could be anything. I think they just have a problem anytime there's anybody who likes America shows up. And I'm not defending the violence. I'm just saying Antifa is going to show up anywhere they think that American values are being upheld, and I guess not liking Gavin Newsom's part of that. During that, I did find the article or the commercial. Let's go ahead and take a look at that, and you can see how bad it is.
Here we go again.
Daddy will get you a golden goose.
Oh
when
my.
we get home.
No, I want one.
That's it. That's
Is that actually how it ends?
yes. Federal. It's restarted now. On that same, it says majority, and then it ends. That's what your federal election is going to be. No, nothing at all. It took you $0 to do that. And it was basically an out-of-date meme. That meme might have been acceptable from some random person at any given time, but for the federal party, say the only reason for an election is because Trudeau wants a majority. No, the strategy that all the opposing parties to Trudeau are taking is that it's too dangerous. Even the Conservative Party, it's too dangerous to hold an election in public now, even though pretty much everything's open, despite the need for vaccine passports. Pretty much everything's open. But it's too dangerous to line up for an election. It's too dangerous to go. And let me tell you something about Canadian elections in the election centers. There's never a huge line. You're never waiting there for an hour because they use schools, they use seniors centers, they use everything. I don't think I've ever waited more than half an hour to cast a vote.
So this is the line for everything, is that it's dangerous. I mean, literally, same here in the States, right? Anything that they don't like is dangerous. You voted for Donald Trump, dangerous. You don't want to wear a mask, dangerous. You got a fake vaccine passport, dangerous. Everything is dangerous. They don't give you a reason why. It used to just be that, of course, the president was working for another country, right? But that didn't work. So they just turned it up to 11 to the point where if you don't obey every single thing, you're going to die. But if you don't die, you're most certainly going to kill somebody else. It's like the whole, I mean, where does it go from here? The only place next to go, and they're already doing it, is telling you that your kids are going to die. Like last year, we heard that children we're not as at big of a risk. Now, I'm in the boat that I'm not afraid of coronavirus at all, so it doesn't matter to me anymore. But they're still telling you that your kids need to wear a mask, even though last year they said children were at very low risk of something that already had more than a 99% survival rate. So now they're telling people your kids are going to die if you don't obey. And it's clearly a power grab, and you guys are still, every time I think we hit rock bottom, you guys like one up it with like a level of corruption that's insane.
It's just an excuse to not have an election because they know they're going to lose. And it's weird when everybody's saying that isn't a person who's favored to win. They're not the ones delaying it and saying we need to wait. They're saying we know we're going to win, so let's have it. And the Canadian Conservatives are just like, oh, it's too dangerous. They're completely, I don't know what demographic they're going for. They don't want liberal voters to hate them, even though they'll never vote for them. And they're just clinging on to like a boomer vote. The boomer, that's a stereotype that's very afraid of the virus, thinks that there's no such thing as corruption. Everything on the TV is true. The police can do no wrong. Politicians can do no wrong. All that sort of stuff. That's what they're clinging to. And they want old Albertans out west to vote for them, but they've got no other chance for anything else. They make zero risky calls. They didn't come out against lockdowns. They took their anti-China policy off their website. So they want to balance the budget in 10 years. So it's like, give me 3 elections and then I'll balance the budget. It's craziness. It's sad. It's pathetic. It's whatever you want to say about it. I don't see it working out too well. I see another sweet ride with Justin Trudeau as we depth even further into communism and everybody wants to leave. Even Alberta, who's supposed to be the Texas of Canada, is saying we're going to wait another month or another few weeks until we lift all our restrictions fully, even though what happened was a bunch of leftists protested for like 2 weeks and they immediately caved to them. Actual political pressure, just people protesting in the streets. They protested in the streets for more social distancing requirements and more things to shut down. So it's okay for them to congregate close together to get the government to say you can't be close together. It doesn't make any sense. And you're just like, why are you listening to these people? You didn't listen to people who are anti-lockdown, but you listen to these people and give them exactly what they want within a couple weeks. And that's supposed to make you favorable when you it's like they never want to appeal to their actual voter base. They want to appeal to the people who will never vote for them and will just keep taking and taking no matter what. It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it makes absolutely no sense. And we see the same thing here. Like, again, with the lockdown protest last year in New York, 10 people arrested inside of an hour, but the very same park, hundreds of people camp out there and they actually get what they're asking for. So it's crazy how the left-wing party appears to still have a backbone while a right-wing party will never, they cave every single time. And I mean,
it's true.
We're seeing it now even with Larry Elder, right? I mean, who said that the election was perfect and that transgenders can use the bathroom, which, for the record, is a silly question to begin with, right? Like, my sister's transgender, which whatever. That's a completely different story. But the point is, the left, as slimy and disgusting and corrupt as they are, they have a backbone and they push their agendas. And the right is always just like, well, the New York Times is going to be mad at me. Like, and
essentially, yeah.
Yeah. It's
always the 12 people on Twitter are going to be mad at me. The hypocrisy never stops. We can turn to a story about the Sturgis motorcycle rally, and that is in South Dakota, did you say?
Yes, so that's on the western part of the state.
Booming U.S. cases dominate world total. Sturgis motorcycle rally wraps live COVID updates. So maybe this isn't directly about it, but we know they've been complaining about, there it is, a 10-day Sturgis motorcycle rally. Let's click on that and see where it takes us.
They hate it. I mean,
a massive motorcycle rally. Let's just listen. Oh, I guess we're not listening. It's too much work for voiceovers.
It's one of those now this
yeah.
Never been this busy this early.
They gather in bars, parlors, and restaurants. Over 600 cases were traced to the event. But it's offering vaccinations and face masks. Let's do some quick math, shall we? They said 600 cases out of 700,000 possible attendance. 700,000 divided by 600 times 100. Oh, that doesn't make any sense. I screwed that one up. It should be 600 divided by 700,000.
Well, we're talking about cases anyway.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it's just so vague. Like, I mean, are we even seeing now that the symptoms of this virus are like? Now, I don't want to get us kicked off all the big tech overlord platforms, but the symptoms of this thing just aren't that scary, and the desperation is palpable. Right? They're running these hit pieces. They're playing videos of people crying in the hospital, saying they wish they got vaccinated. Like, come on, guys.
This line that's going around, I think it's 0.08% is what I'm getting here. I don't know why my math skills that usually don't fail me.
So less than 1%. Less than 1.
Of course it is. It's 600 to 700.
Less than, wait, you said 0.08?
I think so. Yeah, 0.085%. So 0.09, less than 0.1% positive case rate linked to it. So it's not confirmed cases. It's things that are linked to. It could have been someone went there and then they came and they got it from somebody else. So 0.09 we'll go with if we want to round it up. 0.085% positive case rate resulting from something that's 700,000. So that's an insane thing to be complaining about. And then, as you pointed out, we can cross over to Lollapalooza, which looked like this, and we've got a video for that.
Have found 203 cases of COVID-19 connected to this event right there, Lollapalooza. However, they are not calling this a super spreader event.
And joining us now to talk more about this is Dr. Vishnu Chundi right now. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's get into this. Do you believe the precautions and the regulations that were put in place
precautions,
for Lollapalooza
these newscaster voices?
COVID spread at Grant Park?
Absolutely. If you look at what happened in Milwaukee after the Bucks victory, you know, they had a spreader event there with the increase in rates. Here we see no increase in rates after almost 400,000 people were there. So Chicago is a city that...
Okay, there's the number there. 400,000 and 203 cases, Eric. We can do some quick math on that. And this is in a Democrat state, though. So is that why we're not worrying about it at all?
Absolutely.
Wait, how many people did they say? 600,000?
I think she said... I thought she said 400. 400,000?
400,000. 203 divided by 400,000 where we're going now. Where's your math skills? Aren't you a savant?
No, but I do have a calculator here.
That is 203 divided by 600,000 times times 100. 0.03%. So it's slightly less contagious at Lollapalooza than it is at the biker gathering, but it amounts to a difference of 300 cases linked to the event. And this is... Why are we complaining about this? Like, you really don't want to go back to normal if you're complaining about 300 people out of hundreds of thousands contracting something. More people probably got drunk and had to go to the hospital or did drugs and had to go to the hospital.
Look, I mean, I've been to music. I've been to like Outside Lands in San Francisco.
Someone was doing it.
Huge music festival. Somebody's got the math for you. And they have, they have hospital tents for people who will say they get dehydrated, perhaps because they may have, taken in too many recreational drugs. I mean, this type of thing happens all the time, but it just doesn't matter anymore. I mean, quite literally, nothing else matters except for coronavirus. That's it. We've known it for a really long time now. It doesn't matter how many times have we heard this story about the guy who fell off a ladder or had a motorcycle accident? And the best one is the term that I like that you see far too often. And I was making a joke about it at first, but you see it over and over again. And that is COVID related. To make a weird statement about it really quick, a rapper from the Bay Area, from the rap group Zion I, right? Not a national household name, not a worldwide celebrity, but huge in the Bay Area, right? Huge in the Bay Area. People love these guys, right? He recently died, 49 years old, and I was reading a number of articles, and they all say different things. You can read one article that says the cause is unknown, and you can read another article that says COVID related. I mean, what does COVID related mean? Did he have it? Did it kill him? Did he die with it or from it? Or is this just a completely, fear-mongering tactic like we saw the CDC do to Florida, like we saw the Texas Tribune do to their own state of Texas? It's just a way to, like you said, they never want to go back to normal. Normal is no good. They do not. Once you get that little taste of power, why would you give it back? Of course, everybody's going to die if you don't do exactly what I say when I say it, no matter how many times I change my mind.
I think we have that article about, they changed the numbers in Florida. They overshot those by a huge amount. Now they did this in, where was this? Texas, I think?
In Texas, they
one heck of a correction. Media gets kids' hospitalization with COVID numbers very wrong. Yeah, I was checking this earlier. Texas Tribune said that 5,800 children have been hospitalized in the state during the first week of August. 11-month-old baby was rushed to the emergency room. She had tubes stuck down her throat to pump her lungs with oxygen. But the article wasn't true. They mistakenly used the number of children being hospitalized since the beginning of the pandemic as force of public correction. The actual number is 783 in the last 2 months, as opposed
not
to
even the last week.
Is that what it said the first time?
I believe they said
yeah.
one week.
They said 5,800 children in the first week of August, when it was actually the number of all time. That's a crazy mistake. I could have understood if they just mixed up the number or if they just mixed up the dates, but they said it was all in 1 week, and it's like that. How many layers did that pass through? And nobody was like, "That seems like a lot of people."
And can I just say really quick too? Let's never forget, because now London Breed out in San Francisco is requiring the passport to go to a restaurant or whatever. Let's never ever forget the fact that more than twice the people died of overdoses in San Francisco as COVID-19 in 2020. That is a fact. But they still offer up safe injection sites, and you have to have a passport to get into a restaurant. And just for the record, this woman is provably corrupt. She took gifts from the Department of Public Works head, who later got indicted by the FBI, and we know the FBI is basically the enforcement arm of the left-wing party. So you have to be doing something really bad for the FBI to come at you as a Democrat. She took gifts from this man whose main job it was to clean the streets of San Francisco that are famous for having poop on them. He was arrested by the FBI for taking bribes. She had to pay fines for ethics violations stemming from taking bribes from him, and people still follow her rules.
That's such a weird name too. It always reminds me of like London Bridges. London
Breed.
Is that a prize-winning horse?
she is just such an awful woman. And for her to, it's almost like, I truly don't understand how people can fixate on this one thing, right? If you're so interested in doing what's right for coronavirus, but you can't listen to anything else that she does. Yeah, that's her. What a wreck.
Assumed office 2018. London Nicole Breed, 47, San Francisco.
And I'm getting feedback again.
You've got issues then. Do you want to take go ahead. We'll take a commercial break shortly. We're gonna do it live. We're skipping the breaks. Eric has echo, somebody says.
Okay, yes, I was getting some feedback.
Because you've got something open.
Well, I don't hear it now. I don't hear it. Now it's good. It's gone. But just one last thing really quick about London Breed is that before she became mayor, she petitioned. No. Oh man, somebody will have to fact check me on this, but it was either right before she became mayor or right after she became mayor. She petitioned the governor to let her brother out of prison from a murder charge. So just so we know who we're dealing with, that is the same woman that demands you take a shot to go to a restaurant in San Francisco, even though you have to walk over needles and poop to get to the restaurant. So we'll leave it there on London Breed.
Well, if you're Hunter Biden, you can have gun charges, you can be smoking meth on videos or crack or whatever it is. You're really untouchable when you reach a certain level. If you're a Democrat politician, I'm sure Republicans too, I shouldn't even say that, but if it became public, it wouldn't be allowed. If Donald Trump Jr. had a video of him smoking crack, he would never be able to be seen in public again.
Yeah, there would be a Hulu documentary about it.
Say, oh, I don't remember giving, I don't know if that's my laptop or not, you guys. Hey, buy my paintings for 400 grand. Nothing cheap about that. Commercial break time, Eric. Here's your book, New York City, Gotham City, New York City 2020 Gotham Unglued. You can see it behind me as well. Hardcover I have. $40. It has dropped in price just because you guys are so nice, I think. Or you can buy the Kindle, $5.98. There's so many insanely good pictures in it. I think Amazon took them off here. Let's see if we can get to a couple of them. There we go. Just all the trash, all the homeless. I love guessing. Is it a corpse? Is it a pile of garbage? Or is it winter tires? So you can get that on Amazon. You can see my latest episode of Andrew Says on rebelnews.com with Jason Miller. He answers all my questions. It's a pretty good interview, if I must say so myself. I talked about the website Getter, of course. He's the CEO of that. It's going to have tip options. He goes over other stuff. I think he wants to have stuff like that website. It was called Clubhouse, where it's audio live streaming. You could jump in with a group. And he said he met with Trump recently. He had an hour with him in his office. And he said he talked to him about running in 2024. He talked to him about getting him on his platform. He talked to him about a bunch of stuff. And then after that, I got into it with him about like, what's some of the crazy stuff you gave Trump advice on? What's some of the stuff that got you hired with Trump? And like, how did you guys connect with all the influencers? So it was a pretty good segment, Eric, that I did with Jason Miller there. And I encourage you guys, let me make sure I'm seeing, and I encourage you guys to go watch it. You've seen this viral video from New York where I don't know why, like, let's just watch it. And I want to know, like, what actually is the event here. Let's zoom in maybe.
Nigga said we couldn't be outside last year. Where we at? Outside! What is your message to Cuomo right now?
Rot in hell, you son of a bitch!
Cuomo, you put pineapple on your pizza and you get no pussy!
You're next, de Blasio. You're fucking next. You're next. We on your ass, boy. We on your ass, boy.
If she say no, you gotta go!
Is that Jim Jones?
We don't fuck with that quick Cuomo. Get the fuck out. We got Trump in the fucking silky on Union Square.
Cuomo, don't you get away with this shit? When I see you, I'm gonna grab you by your fucking neck.
We're replacing Cuomo with Bobby Shmurda. Bobby for governor. Bobby for governor.
Come on, get no pussy. Come on, get no pussy. Come on, get no pussy. Come on, get no pussy.
Is that like outside of a place that does rap battles? Is it a comedian thing? How come everybody's just got these one-liners?
That was Union Square Park, right there on 14th, across from the Whole Foods. It is there's a homeless population that lives in that park for sure, like with most parks in New York City. But that was the guys from Side Talk who are. They're hood journalists in a sense, right? Like they go to New York and they talk to people outside the bodega, smoking Lucy's and eating bacon, egg, and cheese and stuff like that. So they actually held a party, which I think they probably have 400,000 or 500,000 followers on Instagram, probably Twitter as well. which I'm still not using, but we'll get there one day. So they had a party. They literally put up a flyer on their Instagram, come to Union Square to celebrate Cuomo leaving office. And those were some of the people that showed up. Now, I'm sure they, set it up to make it so it would go viral. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that was just super authentic. Like, they put a flyer party up and people showed up to party. I think they probably had a bunch of, whatever these Manhattan kid drink, Hennessy or Patron or whatever it is. But they had him out there, lined up to get the shot. And I think the most obvious thing here is that everybody doesn't like Andrew Cuomo. And I'm not, I hate him. I've always hated him, or not always. I didn't care until the lockdowns. And I was like, this guy is absolutely insane. But even the media, right? Like even the late night comedians, they're all just so, the pearls are clutched now that Cuomo is that the attorney general, who obviously wants his job, put out this report and he's got to go. And now everybody's walking it back. Kimmel and Fallon and Colbert, all those guys. So this is clearly not just a right-wing issue. You also saw de Blasio got a shot out there. So the point is that we can see you guys. So you're going to put in this new lieutenant governor with the weird plastic surgery, who's obviously already hopping off the deep end of tyranny. That's maybe a little bit of another story, but she's already said that kids are going to wear masks and that she's not sure what the next variant is going to do. So she's already planning her tyrannical takeover. But on top of that, she says that there will never be a toxic work environment. So she's going to go full Democrat tyranny or full establishment tyranny on top of a little sprinkling of feminism. So they are in for a wild ride.
I'm sure they just got 150 people to say their thing into the mic and they were able to pull 20 out. But what I find interesting is threatening your governor or your mayor on camera, saying you're going to grab him by the neck. Like, that's not a good idea. Now in New York, is that going to do anything? Probably not, because you can't arrest people for stuff like that in New York.
But you can arrest somebody if they have a fake Vaks card.
That's correct. FBI, border security, the
DHS?
aliens.
Yeah.
The tall grays and tall whites are going to be called. Everybody's going to get brought in. In other news, something I wanted to make sure we cover is this DHS warning. Now, I saw a graphic about it. I'm not sure if it looked like it was somebody's own doing, an own summary of what happened. But DHS warns of heightened risk ahead of 9/11 anniversary. They're warning of domestic extremism. And I want to get to the list of something that of where they say you should be watching out for people. These extremists may seek to exploit the emergence of COVID-19 variants by viewing the potential reestablishment of public health restrictions across the U.S. as the rationale to conduct attacks. So if you're against the restrictions, then you should be considered as a possible terrorist. Grievances over public health safety measures and perceived government restrictions. There's no actual government restrictions, Eric. They're perceived. Concerns with the broader sharing of false narratives and conspiracy theories will gain traction in mainstream movements. So that's why they're doing it, because they think that the conspiracies and false narratives against, government restrictions are going to result in terrorism. So we can't you look out for the people who are against lockdowns.
Correct.
According to DHS, Russian, Chinese, and Iranian government-linked media outlets have repeatedly amplified conspiracy theories concerning the origins of COVID-19 and effectiveness of vaccines. But we know that what the American government and media were saying, they were saying the exact opposite of what was true about the origin or the alleged origin of the virus. You could get kicked off of Facebook and YouTube for saying that it came from the Wuhan lab. Now it's okay to joke about on late night TV. We saw Jon Stewart do that with little Stevie Colbert, as somebody called him before. I think Bill O'Reilly called him that. Little Stevie Colbert, he used to be known as. And then he started hamming up his Frenchness eventually, I think. I thought there was another thing in this about election integrity that they had a warning about.
It was in there. If you actually pull up the DHS memo itself, it does talk about Trump. So the graphic that went viral was, a paraphrasing of the report, but I actually read it. It's not that long. And it's absolutely insane. But again, this is another thing, just like we started with Chuck Schumer. That they created a problem. I don't know why I keep getting the echo now. It's coming in and out. Andrew, do you hear it?
I don't hear the echo. Perceived election fraud and alleged reinstatement and responses to anticipated restrictions relating to the increasing COVID cases. Ideologically motivated violent extremists fueled by personal grievances and extreme ideological beliefs continue to derive inspiration and obtain operational guidance through the consumption of information shared in certain online communities. Explosive and small arms. Well, that's fair. We don't want people learning how to make explosives. That's exactly what happened with terrorists 20 years ago. Law enforcement has expressed concerns that broader sharing of these false narratives and conspiracy theories will gain traction in mainstream environments, resulting in individual or small groups embracing violent attacks. There's the Russian and Chinese stuff here. But yeah, so election fraud being against. Of course, we agree with anyone who's trying to make IEDs and homemade guns. Not a good thing. I mean, you could just go buy a gun. You're in America, but then you probably have a criminal record, so maybe you can't. Which is why we should ban all guns. But perceived election fraud. I mean, there's been election fraud proven, even though Joe Biden is the unquestionable ruler of the free world with 900 trillion votes. I'll praise Joe Biden. But it's been proven. And then alleged reinstatement. Obviously, that's more than likely a fantasy for Mike Lindell. He's got, 15 days left, Eric, to prove everybody wrong that Trump's going back in. And
I think those two things are connected. By the way, I think that warning is connected to the audits out in Maricopa and the cyber symposium that just happened right here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. If we're going to pretend those things aren't linked together at all, I think we'd be mistaken, right? Because basically what they're saying is anybody who doesn't continue to buy our line of bullshit is a terrorist. I mean, of course, they can throw the 9/11 stuff on top of it to make it a little less, obvious, but they know exactly what they're doing. They've been trying to do it at least since January 6th, probably earlier, right? I mean, back when a red hat was a crime, it was the KKK hood to wear a red hat. So this is the obvious next step to that. It's like anybody who can see that everything is not on the level is a potential terror threat. And that almost, if I'm honest, reflects more poorly on them because they know what they've done is so egregious that some people might be angry. But rather than say, like the Time magazine article famously said, we fortified the election, rather than say that, they just say anybody who doesn't believe that Joe Biden won fair and square, anybody who doesn't want to walk around in a face diaper all day, they are now potential terrorists. Even though we can see them quite literally terrorizing cities across the country last year, abusing these children with these mask mandates, even after saying last year that children weren't as susceptible to the virus. It's just every single thing, and we've seen it for decades now, every single thing that they are doing, they have to project onto their opposition as a way to get out in front of it.
It's hard and sad to watch the slow walk that it was towards this point where it's anyone who disagrees with the mainstream narrative of the Democrat Party should be considered a possible threat to the country. I think this is because they anticipate protests on the anniversary of 9/11 as a time when freedoms were taken away through the Patriot Act, of course, which is something if we were in the same climate in 2002 as we are now, you wouldn't be able to talk about that online. That would be banned on Twitter, talking about the Patriot Act and everything. But it's sad to talk about a year or two ago or even in January, how they were going to use this all for censorship and then to blame Trump supporters for everything. Even though it was led a lot, I won't say a lot, I'll say there was people in the FBI that we know that led some of these groups into the Capitol. And now it's exactly where people thought it was going to be. It's not that their plan and their plan of action is unpredictable. It's how will they convince people? How will they get to the root? We all have the We all know the spot they're getting to in the maze. It's just which way in the open-ended maze will they get to people who don't believe everything they say are possible domestic terrorists. It's sad to watch that story unfold, and it's even sadder to see that everybody could have predicted it, but nothing can be done about it. I mean, where's the Republican politicians giving backlash to this? There could be, but where's Ted Cruz coming out and saying, like, this is an insane statement? Why don't I check to see? Why don't I check Ted Cruz, and why don't I check, like, Matt Gaetz?
Really quick, that, again, just if I want to take the glass half full approach, we just watched, some 20-something New Yorkers with a cutout of Trump on Union Square, right? Those aren't the people that the administration wants to paint as terrorists, but in their broad language have, right? They put a do-rag, they put a silk do-rag on Donald Trump in Union Square. Those people are not what the media wants you to believe is the racist Donald Trump supporter. Those are kids drinking liquor and probably smoking pot in a park in Manhattan.
I see Sebastian Gorka talking about it. Whoever Wendy Rogers is. Just a bunch of reporters, basically. Kyle Becker, Breitbart, Zero Hedge, Bridget Gabriel. I don't see any Representative Mike Johnson. How about that? He is LA's 4th congressional district.
When Monday rolls around, maybe by the time, these guys, they take weekends and all sorts of stuff. Hopefully they'll be back in the office on Monday and have something to say about it. Because this did come out on Friday evening, on Friday night, if I'm not mistaken.
It's what you want. It's one of those things that they want to put out there so they can say they put it out there and they can act on it. # Yahoo News article of the P-Gate tapes.
And as that's also happening, that happened literally. That statement was issued, if I'm not mistaken, only hours after that audio had leaked of Mayorkas admitting that the border is a complete disaster and it's his fault. It's his fault. And that audio leaked. And then the warning came out. And a couple days earlier, maybe Monday or Tuesday, possibly Wednesday, but sometime last week, I think Andy Biggs, representative from Arizona, drafted up a resolution to impeach Mayorkas. Now, of course, that's never going to happen. But if that comes into the news and the leaked audio comes into the news, they just throw this, a figurative atomic bomb at the wall that anybody who doesn't trust them is now a terrorist, as two things are coming out against the same guy who's destroyed the border.
Wouldn't it be fantastic if every time there is a negative story about you or the people that you like, you could just have any given government agency come out with a report and then and it's basically something that every newspaper and TV station is going to run with when it's like, oh, specific warning, here's 2 hours of content, you guys have a panel on it. I think we have the time for the last story that we marked down here, which was Houston man shot 6 times last week, still waiting for surgery at hospital because they're too busy with COVID patients.
And we start with a Fox 26 exclusive tonight.
This guy has a lisp.
At some Houston hospitals.
Where they are so
sounds like
crowded,
JB Smoove.
to pick and choose who receives surgery and who has to wait. Fox 26's Matthew Seedorf speaking with a man who was shot 6 times nearly a week ago.
This guy's going to get signed by G-Unit.
Awaiting surgery.
That's right, Kaylin. He's here at Ben Taub, where the
this guy's tired.
Is currently.
I know he looks like he's been smoking pot.
You might be able to see the ambulances over my
Kid only got shot 5 times, and he's in G-Unit.
Just wants to have his surgery and go home. An alarming new emergency inside some Houston hospitals. Climbing COVID cases and a medical worker shortage clogging operating rooms.
Everybody's really surprised that I'm still in this bed now a week later.
JD Valdez has been in this hospital room at Ben Taub since last Saturday. A stranger shot him outside this Kroger 6 times.
What?
He's now been waiting more than 6 days for surgery.
Got shot in the neck right here, but I got hit 3 times on my left shoulder, and that's what's broken and what I'm awaiting surgery for.
The hospital's ICU 98% full, a third of these patients sick with COVID-19. A similar situation at
COVID-related.
Their ICU 94% capacity, more than half coronavirus patients.
At this point, do you have any idea when this surgery could happen?
No, I mean, any day now. Today, they're not letting me eat or drink because it could be today, but it's not the first time we heard that, you know?
So what are they proving here with this?
What they're saying is give us more money. This is what happens all the time in Canada. 90% capacity, and I know one says 94 and 98, but 90% capacity is normal for hospitals. It's not ideal, but up here, 90% was our green zone before the pandemic happened, and then they moved the goalpost, of course, because they keep getting more money. The days where I'm just going to take stuff that a hospital says and be like, this is it, there's no bias could ever go into this. They put out this stuff where they say they're overwhelmed so that they can get more money. They get more money to hire nurses. The nurses union pressures them for more money to hire more nurses, just like a teachers union pressures a school district to hire more teachers and get more funding. A nurses union and there's nurses unions, there's hospital unions, and there's the hospital itself that wants to get more money. And when you don't have socialist healthcare like we do in Canada, a lot of these hospitals are operating independently, and they're going to get funding directly from the state or the county in some places. So I don't believe that this guy can't get a surgery. I think that they're using the excuse of being full of COVID patients. Now, I could be wrong. I'm not going to say that this is 100% what happens or what's happening here. But a lot of these cases, what it happens is the hospital says it's overwhelmed and they need more money, they need more funding. What happened up here in Toronto was they built 2 field hospitals because the hospitals were so overwhelmed, they said. They built tents and everything you need for a field hospital outside, never full. I believe there was like 3 patients at one of them, and then they closed the other one before ever having any people in it. So they both closed down because they never needed them. They've gotten multiple budget increases, hospitals with huge investments going into them. There is a part of business in healthcare, just like we see with the vaccines. So don't think that you can take everything just at face value, that this is, sure, there's hardworking doctors, nurses, paramedics at these hospitals. Of course they are. But when you get unions and you get hospital CEOs involved, of course they're going to want more money. They want more people to be hired, because then the union gets more dues. They want the hospital to make more money, get more funding, so they can have cooler shit, so they can have raises, so they can have more vacations, hire more people, etc., make their lives easier. So the idea that all this stuff is 100%, heartfelt messaging, and we can't get you in because we have no more people. Oh yeah, a PR person, write up that this poor guy can't get his surgery because we don't have enough stuff here. We don't have enough vacancy. We don't have enough beds. So therefore, please give us more money. That's my take of it.
But so, I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. But what are we talking about? Ventilators? I mean, there's no cure for this thing, right? They've told us that the only thing that can possibly fix it is getting the vaccine. So what are the hospital workers in there doing? They're monitoring these people's breathing every single hour of the day and putting them on ventilators to make sure that everything is going to plan. Meanwhile, a guy with a bullet in his neck can't get treatment. I mean, are they really? What are they really doing to these quote unquote COVID related patients? Right? I mean, we've been told even since last year that there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to isolate and wait it out. So what's going on in there? I mean, we already know they were blowing people's lungs out with ventilators. Cuomo was screaming about that. We had a very similar situation in New York with the field hospitals that remained empty, and
right, the hospital ship, right?
There was a hospital ship. They turned the Javits Center, which is a huge convention center in Manhattan. So on the river side, on each side, I always get them mixed up of the Javits Centers on the east or the Javits Centers on the Javits Centers on the opposite side of where the ship was. East River or the Hudson River. I always get them mixed up because I'm Brooklyn. I don't go to Manhattan, East River and the Hudson River and all that. But
why would you, right? No.
Yeah, they're clowns. So those two. Oh, and there was another field hospital in Central Park that actually got protested by leftists because it was set up by Christians. So a deadly virus that Christians come to set up a field hospital to help was protested by left-wing people because they're Christians. And then the two huge field hospitals at the Javits Center and the hospital ship remained empty. There was another field hospital in Brooklyn at the Navy Yard, also remained empty. So that all happened. And they're telling this guy in Houston that he can't get treatment for getting shot in the neck because COVID patients are taking it over. I mean, we've seen this movie play out before. And unfortunately, it's really sad to think that they're playing with this guy's life like this to convince people, basically to convince people to get vaccinated, right? That's what at the bottom of this is like, well, if you just got vaccinated, the ICU wouldn't be at 98%, but it's all fake. It's completely fake. And on top of that, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that Houston has a Democrat mayor who was on board with this defunding the police. Fact check me on that. I don't know the person's name, but I'm 95% sure that the mayor of Houston is a defund the police Democrat. So you can celebrate the fact that one of your residents got shot as a way to push vaccines, or you can try to stop the crime in your rotten city.
And I know at least 3 people used that line of people on their deathbed are asking for the vaccine. Biden used it. A politician in Alabama used it. And the French premier of Quebec in Canada used it. They said, I keep saying they said it in French because they think nobody will find out. But it's like somebody pushed that talking point or saw that somebody was using the talking point. Young people are dying. And when they're on a ventilator, they're asking for the vaccine. And we say, it's too late, you guys. It's just too late. You should have signed up for the lottery when you had the chance.
I know, right? And then can I just say really quick, last thing, T.I., you know the rapper T.I., right?
I do.
So he recently posted to his Instagram about a man in Ohio, I believe, a criminal who, as part of his probation, was forced to get the vaccine. Mm-hmm, and T.I.'s mad, and I think that's stupid. I'm against the vaccine for everybody. Now, if anybody should be forced, I would say it's a little bit more likely that somebody under the custody of the government should be forced to. I'm not saying it's right, but that makes a little bit more sense than everybody walking around the streets in America. And it's just funny that it takes a criminal being forced to get a vaccine for a left-wing, visible Joe Biden supporter like T.I. to say, hey, this is too much. It takes a criminal to be forced to do it for him to say, hey, this is a little bit out of control. And if you read the comments on that post, you will also see a lot of people who are already too deep into it and say, this is irresponsible, T.I. You know, everybody needs it. And it's like, what is happening over there? The cognitive dissonance, the detachment from reality is so deep that it's really beyond repair. You have to just
you got to vax that thing up. I believe.
Exactly, man. Exactly. So this is a complete mess. But again, I like to try to keep the glass half full and say the desperation shown with the left-wing TikTok people and the calls to name people, you know, terrorists does show actual desperation that people aren't doing it and they're just keep on going. And you know, it's not gonna convince me to. I don't know. You might be able to convince a 17-year-old with an Olivia Rodriguez meme or Rodrigo or whatever her name is. You might be able to do that, but the fact that you even had to go that far is kind of a good thing.
Like I said last week, I think they've plateaued. I think they're never going to get past whatever the local number is for the place that you're talking about, 60, 70, 80%. 80's been the highest I've seen, 60 around.
And they could be lying about that too. They could be lying about that. We would never know.
It's true. I think we've reached a point here where it's either they're going to have to come out and, you know, I did that video about the camps, the CDC recommending camps. People are like, this is a year old. It never happened. Well, they've updated it and they have these study in the UK government updated it weekly. UK government has a list of people. You have Down syndrome, they want to put you in a camp. If you're pregnant and you have heart disease, you want to put you in a camp. Hepatitis, AIDS, for your safety, of course. So that's the end of it, where it could get to that point. It could stop where it is and they could just cut their losses and their losses being very few. They got all the money and the power that they probably desired.
Yeah, it's just greed at this point. It's just pure greed.
It is. They can't stop now. Why not keep going? Why not keep going until they get all the guns and open the border completely? Eric, thank you for joining me on a Sunday special. I know you were supposed to do Ben Shapiro's show, and you chose this one instead, his Sunday special. Eric Butler on the Tatum Report and Report and Opine. Go buy his book. It's behind me, right there.
It's in the corner.
In the coroner, and then Eric has it on his screen right now. And we're going to say goodbye to everybody. Semper Fi.